Hi everyone, in this video I'll tell about OAuth and various concepts that every software developer should know. Suppose you want to open your files on a website. These files are stored on your file server, and to access them, the website must have permissions to get them. Let's introduce several core concepts. In the scenario I described, you are the resource owner because the files are yours. The website is a client application. The external server storing your files is the resource server. Without any security configurations, your files can be accessed by anyone, which is not ideal. How can we secure this setup? Two main concepts to understand are authentication and authorization. Authentication is the process of verifying the identity of a person. It ensures that users are who they claim to be. When you provide your username and password, the authentication process compares them with what the server has in its database. If the credentials match, you pass the check. Authorization is the process of checking whether a user or application has the right to access certain resources or perform specific actions. Even after you authenticate, you still need permission to access resources. The process of checking these permissions is called authorization. Back to our example. To configure security in this case, we can use the OAuth 2 protocol. OAuth 2 is an authorization protocol, not authentication protocol. It doesn't define how users should be identified. Instead, it defines how resource owners can grant clients access to their protected resources on the resource server. This is an authorization process because the resource server checks whether the client has permission to access the user's resources. OAuth 2 introduces another concept, the authorization server. When the resource owner requests its resources from the client redirects the user to the authorization server and provides a redirect URI so that the client owner can grant access to the client. The authorization server can be integrated with an identity provider like Google, which can be used to identify the resource owner if required by checking credentials. However, this identity verification is not part of the OAuth protocol. The main function of the authorization server is to generate an access token and redirect the resource owner to the address specified in the redirect URI. The access token is a piece of data that serves as a security credential. It typically includes the access granted to the client, the resource owner's identity, and the rights conferred during authorization. With this access token, the client can request resources from the resource server, which validates the token. Resource server trusts the authorization server, which is why the token can be validated. As you can see, no passwords are shared, and the client application cannot access them, which is a good security practice. The process of sending access tokens from the authorization server to the client is called an authorization grant. There are different types of authorization grants, and on the diagram we use the implicit grant type. This means that the authorization server sends the access token when it redirects the resource owner to the redirect URI in the URL fragment. The client can then use this token to make requests to the resource server. In case of authorization code grant, the authorization server sends an authorization code to the redirect URI. The client then makes a request to the authorization server's token endpoint to obtain the access token using this authorization code. The authorization server compares the redirect URI it received previously with the authorization code, and if they are valid, it returns an access token.